Welcome and thank you for staying. Today we are going to begin a new topic, that is topic 5 of the syllabus of primary 7. This topic makes us to understand the people who are in Africa. Majorly it comes before we look at those other foreigners coming to Africa. So we are going to understand the people of Africa, and in this topic we are basically going to begin by looking at what we call an ethnic group. This is not something which is new to us as candidates. We have been learning about ethnic groups right from those downer classes. So it's going to be at the same time as a maybe revision to us. So to get on board, an ethnic group is a group of people with the same origin, and these people speak what we call related languages. An ethnic group is a group of people with the same origin and speak related languages. Not language, but languages. Reason being, there are very many tribes in it that can be speaking very many languages. But the point here is that those languages are related. Now, let's look at the characteristics of an ethnic group. Characteristics of an ethnic group. What is this that is common in an ethnic group? One, we are saying that an ethnic group has the same origin. That is characteristic number one. An ethnic group has the same origin. Characteristic number two, an ethnic group has got tribes that speak related languages. As we said here, the languages spoken in an ethnic group are related. Some people say they are similar. It's all the same. Next, we are saying an ethnic group has the same economic setup. It has the same political setup. Then we are also having this saying that an ethnic group has the same cultural practices. So these are the characteristics that are seen in an ethnic group. In case they ask you, what are the characteristics of an ethnic group? These are the points. It has the same origin. They have tribes speaking related languages. Maybe an ethnic group has the same political setup, the same economic setup, and the same cultural practices. Examples of ethnic groups. Majorly we are going to look at these ethnic groups. Then as example, then we can talk about them one by one. So one, we have the ethnic group that we call the Bantu. We have what we call the Bantu. Two, we have the Nilotes. Time will come when we are understanding these ethnic groups one by one in depth. And when we come to talk about the Nilotes, we shall find that here under the Nilotes, we have sub-ethnic groups in it. This is where we are going to have the ethnic group that we call the Nilotics, that we also call River Lake Nilotes. Then we shall also have what we call Plain Nilotes. Plain Nilotes, that we also call Nilohamites. Then we shall also have what we call the Highland Nilotes. Highland Nilotes. So we continue going through others. We have what we call the Hamites, that we also call the Cushites. We have the Sudanic people, the Khoisan, we have the Pygmies, the Berbers, the Tuaregs, we have the Semites, and others. So these are, among others, the ethnic groups we have in Africa. Now, let's talk about the Bantu. Now, what is very important in an ethnic group is that we should be able to tell, one, where this ethnic group came from. That is what we call the origin. Two, what was the major occupation of this ethnic group? Meaning, which activity were these people practicing mainly? That is what we call occupation. So looking at the Bantu, we say the origin of the Bantu were the Cameroon highlands. The Bantu came from the Cameroon highlands. Then we have the occupation, like I've said, the activity that they were majorly carrying out. The occupation here is what we call cultivation. That's what we call crop growing or crop farming. Most children fail this question when they put the broad term or the broad activity as farming. Now, when you put farming, you will be crossed. Reason being, we need you to be specific which farming activity or which farm practice. So it is very important for you to note that the Bantu were not involved in the other side of rearing animals as in farming, but majorly they were on the side of crop growing. That's why you'll find that when we come to look at how they were coming, we shall find that they came and they were interested in those areas that were having conditions that could favor crop farming. That is what we shall be looking at as interlacustrine region. We shall come to that. Now, in East Africa mainly, we have examples of the Bantu tribes, and we are having them according to the countries. One, we have the ones in Uganda, we have those in Kenya, then we have those in Tanzania. Now, in Uganda, we have tribes that we always know. For example, we have the Baganda, we have the Basoga, the Batoro, the Bamba, we have the Banyankore, we have the Bachiga, Basamia, the Bagisu, the Banyoro, we have the Banyoli, the Bakonzo, and others that I may not have put here. In Kenya, we have what we call the Kikuyu, we have the Embu, we have the Meru, and the Akamba. Then crossing to Tanzania, we have the Chaga, we have the Pare, and we have the Ngoni. So these are tribes that we find in East Africa, in those particular countries. Now, let's go back and we talk about the interlacustrine region. That is still under the Bantu. We say that when they came, these people chose to settle in the interlacustrine region. So, by definition, we shall be saying that interlacustrine region, here we are looking at the areas, interlacustrine regions, or interlacustrine region is the area between the Great Lakes of East Africa. The area between the Great Lakes, of East Africa. Now, having known this, that the interlacustrine region refers to the area that was between the Great Lakes of East Africa, we also need to note what are those examples of those, what are the examples of those Great Lakes? Examples of Great Lakes in East Africa. Which are these lakes we are majorly looking at? One, we have lakes like Lake Victoria. We have Lake Albert. We have Lake Choga. We have Lake Tanganyika in Tanzania, Tanganyika. We shall add Lake George, and we shall also have Lake Edward. So These are the examples of the Great Lakes that we have in East Africa, which means that these people, when they were coming, they chose to settle in areas or areas between these Great Lakes. Now, we are going to look at what prompted them or what made them to settle in that area that we call interlacustrine region. We shall call them reasons as to why the Bantu chose to settle in the interlacustrine region. This can be a question of its own. Give reasons as to why the Bantu chose or decided to settle in the interlacustrine regions. Number one, remember we said at the beginning of our lesson that these Bantu were crop farmers, which means when they were looking for, one of the conditions they were considering to settle in an area was that that area has got favorable soil or fertile soil that supports the growth of their crops. So the answer here, one, we shall say the interlacustrine region received a lot of rainfall. The interlacustrine region received a lot of rainfall. Of course, we know very well that crops need rain for them to be able to grow well. Two, the interlacustrine region had fertile soil that supported crop growth. The interlacustrine region had fertile soil that supported plant growth. Then we can also add the other ones, like easy access to water, so that they get water easily. But the points are here mainly looking at their economic activity that we call the occupation. So this is what we can share about the Bantu ethnic group. The other thing that we were to look at is what made them to leave their cradle land. That we already understood that it was in Cameroon Highland. Why did the Bantu leave their homeland? We can call it homeland, we can call it cradle land, we can call it origin. So this is a question that we are going to answer. Why do you think made this Bantu to travel or to move, leaving their homeland? You could be having some of the answers. Let's share and we see whether what you had is what I had or what is correct. Number one, the first point we have to pick is looking at their occupation. They were crop farmers, which means the major reason for them leaving their homeland was to look for areas with fertile soil. To look for areas with fertile soil. To look for areas that had fertile soil so that they could grow their crops. Two, we now bring other reasons. And what I want you to understand is that some of these reasons cut across except the one talking about the occupation. Like for example, we are saying their occupation was crop farming, so the major reason was this. However, we have other reasons, and these very reasons could have been made even other ethnic groups to leave their cradleland. For example, the Nilotes, the Kushites, and others. So they include, we can say, the Bantu became overpopulated in their cradleland. They became overpopulated, meaning that others had to move in search of areas with free land to occupy. Then we also have wars that might have happened. Here we look at two. Could be internal wars. When we talk of internal wars, we are looking at them having their own misunderstandings. Then we also have external wars. There are a lot of words we can use there. Some people can say external pressure. That one can also be another word we can mean this, but it's the same thing. Next, this Bantu, some of them moved due to love for adventure. Love for adventure. Meaning that there were those who could move because they want to discover what is happening in other areas. That is what we call you move due to love for adventure, to find out what is in other parts of the world. Next, we have influence. Some moved due to influence. What do we mean by this? Here we say that we had some people who did not want to move, but because they saw others moving, they were influenced, and they also just joined others, and they started the journey. Meaning that if you walk up from your house, you are seeing your neighbors are carrying luggage on their heads and they are moving. You ask the people, where are you going? We are moving. We are going somewhere. You tell them, wait for me also. You also enter your house, pick your belongings, put on the head, and you join them. You didn't have that plan of migrating, but because you saw someone moving, you were influenced. So you were motivated and you joined them. That was also another reason that made some of these Bantu to migrate. Then we have other answers. Could be this Bantu experienced drought in their homeland, meaning they had prolonged sunshine. If not, they faced calamities disasters like flood. And from that, of course, they had to move to look for secure places. As we end, I want you to note that in East Africa, we say that this Bantu, when they came to East Africa, remember we said in East Africa, at first, there were people that were called the Bushmen. There were people called the Bushmen. So when they came to East Africa, they displaced these Bushmen. That sets another question. How did the coming of the Bantu affect the original inhabitants? Now, we take the Bushmen as the owners of East Africa, meaning they are the ones who were the original, or who were staying in Africa before these ethnic groups came. So when these ethnic groups came, they were able to chase or drive away these Bushmen, and we find that in Uganda today, in particular, we may not be having these people. It's because of the coming of the Bushmen. So that is about the Bantu, and for now, we can end there. I remain your teacher of SST, Train Up a Child, John Omoding. Thank you.